Hey everybody, it's Jenny here at St. Anne's Episcopal Church, and I wanted to send this video out ahead of our annual meeting this coming Sunday, September the 25th. Now, our annual meeting will take place after our special 10 a.m. worship service. So come ready to worship at 10 a.m., followed by our annual meeting, and then following that will be our annual chili cook-off. But one of the items we're going to talk about in our upcoming annual meeting is where are we, the latest update on the Widening the Welcome initiative here at St. Anne's. Now, we talked about this quite a bit in January and February, and then things kind of went quiet as far as what we were talking about outwardly. But since then, Martha Murphy and Laura Pallavicini and I have been meeting with Andrew Lapina to kind of put together on paper what Widening the Welcome looks like. And I wanted to get this out to you all ahead of time because I know some folks may not be able to join us for our meeting on Sunday, and we won't be having our meeting broadcast on Facebook or on YouTube because of the sensitive information that'll be covered in our annual meeting. It's not meant to be a public displayed meeting. However, you are welcome to come to church and be a part of the meeting. We have lots to cover. We have to elect our new vestry class. We have to elect our convention delegates. We have to vote on changes to our bylaws. And not to mention here reports from our vestry members, from our clergy, from our committee chairs and co-chairs. And then the other item we're going to talk about is widening the welcome. So I want to show you what you will see during our meeting on Sunday. So this is a drawing that Andrew Lapina made for us. I'm trying to make it a little bit bigger, okay, so that we can talk about it. And you'll remember we were talking about several items that had come up in conversation with our members and with our vestry about things that needed to be addressed at St. Anne's as we emerge from this pandemic. And how can we be more appealing, more welcoming, more hospitable to folks who either just drive by our campus or who come to our campus for work, worship, ministry, community events, or just to take part, take advantage of our labyrinth, our playground, our Betty Moore Peace Meadow, those kinds of things. And so the number one thing that came out in our survey was taking down our current signage and replacing it with new updated signage that has the correct information on it. So I wanted to show you that here at the corner of Fairlawn and Oakland, we have put in a new masonry monument style sign with a decorative fence around it. And then we also have over here in between our entrance and exit, a new sign that you can see as you're driving by, and it's not flush with the road, but it's perpendicular. It's right there so you can see it. So that would be the second sign. One of the things that's come up since this drawing has been done was to add an additional sign back here on Oakland where the office lot is. So we will ask Andrew to take that into account and add it to our drawing. So that was the number one thing that folks wanted to change. The next thing up that people wanted to change was to take our disabled parking spaces off in the Fairlawn Drive parking lot and to cover them so that you will not be inhibited by weather if you are in a wheelchair or a walker or some other kind of mechanism that helps people get mobile. What we did with that was we wanted to also cover the walkway. So now from the disabled parking lot up to the doors that go into the narthex is now all covered, right? So not a bit of rain or snow should land upon someone who's in a wheelchair as they're getting out of their car and making their way to the church. Now you will notice on this drawing that there's two things that are in addition to just covering the parking, the walkway. Number one would be this accent feature, which is maybe a 7x7 area. And that kind of is a dramatic place that says, this is how you get to the church. And then there's this much bigger one here that's 20x20 feet. That is an outdoor welcoming landing pad for people who are arriving to the church. One of the things that's not here, but could be built as either part of this process or maybe in the future, would actually be more of a steeple on top of this building that says St. Anne's. You know, it doesn't say St. Anne's, but there could be a cross or the St. Anne's cross built in to this feature. Again, not something that was a part of our original Widening the Welcome survey, but something to consider for moving ahead and moving forward. We are addressing the health of our trees thanks to a generous donation from one of our members. Lusk Landscaping and Tree Company will be coming out in the next couple of weeks to take up some of the canopy of our trees on the front lawn, and also to bring down a couple of trees that are either too close to the building or who have outlived their lifespan and need to come down for safety's sake. So some of that will be happening in the near future. That was also pretty high up in our survey. One of the things that we had talked about was to move the playground out here to the front lawn. And so you'll notice in this drawing that we have the labyrinth right here, but we also have this area designed for the playground. And we have checked with church insurance, and we do not need to put a special fence around that. We are now working with the city to find out what our zoning is and if we need to comply with a fence regulation or not. More details to come. But what you will see in this drawing, if you look closely enough, is that we have actually added a new fence that goes around our property line down Oakland, around onto the Fairlawn Drive, and then it comes down into our lawn area off of Fairlawn, and there'd be a gate from this parking lot that goes in, and then more fencing up to here that ends with this accent feature. So technically, we've added a fence to our property to help kind of neaten things up a bit with our landscaping and with the way it looks like from our folks who are driving by. That was not part of our initial Widening the Welcome, but it does kind of tie everything in very nicely. So what came about in our conversation once we started moving the playground to the front is, what do we do with this space back here? Because it would be pretty vacant. And one of the ideas that came up would be to build a space, a covered community space, 30 feet by 40 feet, and include in that a fireplace, maybe hanging on the fireplace a cross, and then using the space for group function, for outdoor worship, for renting to the community if folks wanted to use that space for a gathering or a function. And we've also created a space here, a landing pad, where we could put the altar, so then we could have worship all in this space with some of it being covered. And I think that's a pretty cool use of the space. Again, not part of our initial Widening the Welcome conversation, so I would love to hear your feedback on that. But I think having a gathered space outdoors is something that we've learned the importance of during COVID. We did talk about what to do with our back area on the parking lot off of Oakland. You know, our slope is the juniper there is dying on both sides of the stairs. And it's really not very attractive looking, especially since 90% of the people who come to us Monday through Saturday are parking in that lot. And so one of the suggestions that has been made for the right side of that area is to build a retaining wall, and that would allow us to kind of level things up, and we could plant pollinators in that space to the right of the steps. The other thing is that our steps currently that lead from the parking lot to the office doors are not up to code. They are too big in the gap. They are too steep in their steps. And so Andrew has suggested, and I agree with him, to remove those steps, kind of continue a retaining wall there, and then build a split flight with 5 steps up with a landing, and then another 5 steps up that takes you right to the doors here. It's hard to visualize. I'm not a visual person, but I do know that this would be a much safer offering than what we currently have to offer. And of course, our disabled and handicap ramp would stay intact for folks who are disabled or need a wheelchair ramp to get in and out of the building. And our fig tree would stay the same. It would still be there too. This would just help us remove the juniper that's there, offer something that would keep erosion at bay and be functioning and safe for people who are coming and going from the office parking lot there at St. Anne's. You'll notice here too that this drawing has added a walkway of sorts. It would be a stone walkway, so it's not cement. It would be hard surface stone. And we call this a prayer walk. And this prayer walk takes you all around the campus here at St. Anne's. And along the way, what we'd like to do is take our stations of the cross and plant them, if you will, so that a person who's doing the prayer walk can also participate in the stations of the cross as part of their prayer life. And that would be pretty cool. We had talked about the memory garden, or the cemetery that we currently use, that we have very few spaces left. And we could use some of that prayer walk as in the ground ashes. So folks who don't want to be in an urn, but they want to be buried at St. Anne's, we could open up the ground and put their ashes in along the way around the prayer walk. And we could also have a monument plaque and put their name in for that. That way we'll know who's in the ground there at St. Anne's. And then one of the other things Andrew has suggested is building up this other area, which is to the left of the narthex doors, building it up so that then we can use that space to continue to have a memorial garden where we can put headstones, cement monuments down for the people whose cremains are in the ground there. So we would have additional spots that we could make available to people who want to make St. Anne's their final resting space. I'm trying to think about other things that are here that would need your attention. The bathroom is in the process of being converted into a family non-gendered restroom. So the bathroom right off as you walk in the narthex on the left-hand side there is in the process of being converted, which was also one of the items in our Widening the Welcome survey. And I think that's all that's really here that we want to talk about. But I think it's a good step in the direction. We'll talk more about this, or available to talk about it anytime you want to talk about it. But I just wanted to get you up to speed about where are we now and what does that mean for St. Anne's moving forward, and how exciting it is to see this emerging from a pandemic, a way to make our space more hospitable, more receptive, and more of a welcoming space for people who are here, who come to worship, who come for formation, who come to do community business at the church, and also for people who just drive by. All right, friends, that's going to do it for me. I look forward to the conversation. Take care and God bless.